What truly ended the reign of the dinosaurs is not what you were taught in any school. Modern science just rewrote the final chapter of the Mesozoic, and the truth is stranger than one falling asteroid. Listen. Beneath the silence of deep time, something stirs. A slit pupil widens slowly in the warm amber light. A low rumble travels through ferns older than memory. Un mundo che già non existe respira en la niebla. A world ruled by giants, drowned by oceans, burned by skies of fire. Today we enter that vanished kingdom. We trace its dawn, golden hour, and final breath. El depredador más temido arrives only at the very end. Pero antes de los gigantes, la Tierra debía renacer. Picture a planet still mourning, bruised and waiting. 252 million years ago, the Permian extinction had erased 9 of every 10 species in the sea. The surviving world was quiet and waiting. Then came the Mesozoic, 186 million years of dominion. 3 great acts unfolded: the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. Together, el mundo perdido del Mesozoico. The continents were not yet scattered. They were welded into one colossal landmass, Pangaea, a single shore. A single shore stretching from pole to pole. But beneath the crust, slow fires were already pulling it apart. Rifts opened like wounds. The Tethys Ocean breathed between the halves. New seas were being born in the dark. The air itself was different. Oxygen levels rose and fell like a tide, warm, humid, heavy with ancient breath. There were no flowers yet, no grass, no songbirds, only ferns rustling and cycads rasping under a copper sun. Mesozoic means middle life, a bridge between the old world and the modern, a stage built for an evolutionary explosion. On that stage, the first hunter was about to rise. En ese mundo recién nacido surgió el primer cazador. The Triassic dawn was not gentle. Volcanoes carved black scars across the sky.
Ash drifted over fern prairies. Rivers ran red with iron, yet life clung on. In that fragile recovery, something new learned to walk upright. Its name was Herrerasaurus, a slender predator from what is now Argentina. 2 meters of muscle and teeth. It ran on 2 legs, balanced by a long tail. Beside it moved Quilophysis, lighter, faster, hunting in shifting packs. These were not yet the titans of legend. They were the prototype, the sketch of a design destined to dominate. Hollow bones, forward-facing claws, a spine engineered for speed that would dominate the planet for 160 million years. The sky above them was streaked with volcanic glass. The forests were low, green, and impossibly ancient. No oaks, no maples, no familiar shade. Only the steady drip of resin and the hush of giant horsetails.
The secrets of the first upright predator lie in a single anatomical revolution that changed everything forever. The hip socket opened. The legs swung directly beneath the body, transforming how creatures moved across Earth. For the first time, a hunter could run for hours without tiring. The endurance predator had been born, and the planet would never forget it. Yet this reign was only a prelude to greater things. The Triassic ended in yet another extinction event, quieter than the first, but just as merciless and absolute. Half of all life vanished again. The survivors inherited an emptier world where giants began to grow. The Jurassic arrived like a slow exhale. Pangaea was splitting in earnest, shallow seas flooded the lowlands. Rain returned to the deserts. The forests rose taller, denser, dripping with the perfume of ancient gymnosperms. And from those forests stepped creatures that defied the limits of biology, reshaping every rule of life. Brachiosaurus, 25 meters from nose to tail, a neck reaching 9 meters into the towering ancient canopy, a heart the size of a small car, pumping blood against gravity that should have killed it. Diplodocus, longer still, swinging its tail like a whip through the mist of the primeval Jurassic morning. Apatosaurus walked the riverbanks with the weight of 3 school buses pressed into the soft Mesozoic earth.
How did such impossible necks exist at all? The science of recent years has finally solved the puzzle. The bones were hollow, threaded with air sacs like a bird's. The vertebrae were honeycombed for lightness. Blood pressure was managed by a cardiovascular system unlike anything alive today. Physics bent, but did not break. Beneath them moved the hunters. Allosaurus, 9 meters of patient violence, curved teeth, and a skull built like an axe. It did not chase, it ambushed. It waited beside the watering holes where the giants came to drink. And among them, Stegosaurus walked with its strange diadem of plates, 17 bony shields running along its spine. For decades, science argued: armor? Heat radiators? Billboards of courtship? La ciencia moderna revela the truth was stranger still. The plates ran rich with blood vessels, thermoregulators and signals, glowing pink in dawn light to attract mates. The canopy above was a cathedral of cycads, conifers, and tree ferns.
Ginkgos spread their fan-shaped leaves wide. The first true forests of scale rustled in winds that no human ear has ever heard, ancient and unwitnessed. We know they walked these landscapes because they left their signatures, footprint trackways frozen in piedra across continents. In Colorado, in Portugal, in Bolivia, vast slabs preserve the parallel steps of herds moving in tight formation. Mothers walked with juveniles while predators circled the edges. Prints older than every mountain you have ever climbed. Pero la verdadera maravilla no caminaba, nadaba y volaba. The greatest wonder did not walk, it swam and flew. While the giants thundered across the plains, another revolution was unfolding silently within the warm seas of the Mesozoic. These were not the seas we know. They were warmer, shallower, and ruled by monsters with eyes like furnaces. Ichthyosaurs sliced through the water like dolphins carved from steel. Some grew to 20 meters in length. Their eyes were the largest of any animal ever, saucers like dinner plates hunting in the lightless depths. Plesiosaurs glided with 4 long flippers, their swan-like necks coiling to snatch silverfish from sunlit schools. And then came the mosasaurs, true sea dragons, relatives of monitor lizards, reshaped into apex marine predators.
18 meters of jaw, muscle, and patience. They did not share their ocean. They owned it absolutely. Above the waves, the skies were already taken. Pterosaurs had been flying for 150 million years. The largest of them, Quetzalcoatlus, had a wingspan of 11 meters, wider than a small modern aircraft. Tall as a giraffe on the ground, it launched into the wind with 1 volt of its forelimbs. Imagine that shadow passing slowly over you. Imagine that silence beneath 11 meters of patient wing. In the shale beds of northeastern China, recent science has uncovered something that broke the old story forever. Feathered dinosaurs, hundreds of species. Microraptor with 4 wings. Sinosauropteryx with a vividly banded tail preserved. Anchiornis preserved so perfectly that ancient pigments could be read directly from its individual fossilized cellular structures. La ciencia moderna revela plumas iridescentes, black and white, russet and gray.
Some glittering with magpie blue. The dinosaurs were not the scaled reptiles of childhood books. Many were warm, colored, plumed, almost avian. And then comes the realization that reframes everything. Birds did not replace the dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. The sparrow at your window is a living branch of the same ancient tree as Tyrannosaurus rex. Aves nacen dentro del linaje dinosaurio. The lineage never fully died. It only learned to fly farther. Meanwhile, on land, the ultimate hunt prepared. The Cretaceous was the longest act, 80 million years of escalation. Continents drifted into nearly their modern shapes. Flowers bloomed for the first time, and bees evolved beside them. The world began to look, at last, faintly familiar. But the creatures upon it had grown beyond all proportion. In the floodplains of what is now Montana, the king finally arrived. Tyrannosaurus rex, 12 meters long. 9 tons of bone and muscle. A skull 1.5 meters across.
Teeth like serrated steak knives, a bite force measured at over 6 tons per square inch, the strongest of any land animal in history. Its forward-facing eyes granted stereoscopic vision. It saw the world in depth, smelling carcasses from kilometers away. Not the lumbering scavenger of older theory, new biomechanics show it pursued at controlled speeds, crushing bone for marrow. Smaller, swifter, far more cunning hunters worked the drier plains. Velociraptor, not the 2-meter killer of cinema. A turkey-sized predator clothed in feathers, wielding a sickle claw curved like a question mark carved from bone. Trackways and bone beds suggest coordinated movement. Velociraptor and manada, pack strategy, singling out the wounded and young. The herbivores answered with armor. Triceratops carried 3 horns and a shield of solid bone, ramming flanks like tanks. Ankylosaurus dragged a club of fused vertebrae that could shatter a femur with one single devastating swing. Edmontosaurus migrated in herds 10,000 strong, surviving the apex predators through sheer overwhelming numbers and constant motion. And in the rivers of North Africa, a stranger reigned. Spinosaurus, 15 meters long, longer even than T-Rex. A sail of bone rising from its spine. A snout like a crocodile, lined with conical fish-catching teeth. Recent fossils proved what scientists long suspected. Spinosaurus was a true swimmer. Its broad tail was pedal-shaped.
Its bones were dense as a hippopotamus, built to sink, the first known semi-aquatic dinosaur ever discovered. El depredador más temido entered the stage from the water itself. Ninguno sospechaba que el cielo guardaba su sentencia. 66 million years ago, on a morning that began like any other, a shadow appeared in the upper atmosphere. It was traveling at 20 kilometers per second. It was roughly 10 kilometers wide, older than the planet beneath. It struck the shallow sea off the Yucatan Peninsula. The crater it left is called Chicxulub, colossal, ancient. 180 kilometers across, buried now beneath sediment and jungle. The energy released defies easy comprehension, calculated at the equivalent of several billion of the bombs that fell on Hiroshima. Some estimates push higher. In the first seconds, a fireball climbed into space. Molten rock was hurled across the Gulf of Mexico. Within minutes, debris began to rain back through the atmosphere, glowing white-hot. The sky itself caught fire. Forests across a hemisphere ignited at once. Tsunamis rose hundreds of meters tall, scouring distant ancient coastlines. From Texas to what is now North Dakota, sulfur boiled from the wounded seabed and rose skyward. There it formed dense aerosols that blocked the sun, sealing Earth in a long, lightless, suffocating winter. A long winter began, not for years, but for decades. Photosynthesis collapsed. Every food chain began to die. Acid rain bleached the oceans. Carbonate shells of plankton dissolved in the surface water. Coral reefs went dark. Yet the asteroid was not alone. The Deccan traps in India erupted for hundreds of thousands of years. Lava flows the size of countries pumped sulfur and carbon dioxide skyward long before Chicxulub ever fell. The climate was already shaking violently. The impact did not start the crisis. It only finished it cleanly. In the silence that followed, 3/4 of all species vanished. Every non-avian dinosaur. Every mosasaur. Every pterosaur. Every ammonite spiraling in the deep. An entire architecture of life erased forever, without ceremony or witness. Lo que realmente los mató no es lo que crees. It was not a rock. It was convergence. An aging planet, already stressed by volcanism and climate, struck by a wanderer from the early solar system. That fragment had drifted 4 billion years through space, bad timing on a cosmic scale beyond imagining. The dinosaurs did not lose to one disaster. They lost to a conspiracy of disasters across deep time. And modern science can now date their fall to the exact day in our planet's deep prehistory. In the Badlands of North Dakota, a site called Tethys has rewritten the closing scene of extinction. There, paleontologists have uncovered a freshwater riverbed buried beneath a single chaotic layer of sediment and ash. Inside that layer rest fish.
Sturgeons and paddlefish fossilized in mid-thrash, frozen in their final desperate moment. And inside their gills, lodged like buckshot, glow tiny glass beads born of the burning sky itself. Those beads are microtectites, droplets of molten rock blasted from the Chicxulub crater, raining across the continent. The fish inhaled them as they fled the rising water. They suffocated as the impact wave arrived. Growth lines in their bones read the season. It was spring when the asteroid struck the Earth. The flowers of the early Cretaceous never opened that year. In adjacent rocks, researchers extract ancient proteins, fragments of collagen, traces of pigment, the very melanosomes that once gave Anchiornis its delicate iridescent coloration. The reds and blacks of a Sinosauropteryx tail. We see the Mesozoic in its true colors. After 66 million years of silence, a handful of small, feathered, warm-blooded creatures slipped through the bottleneck. They were already nesting, already singing, already cleverer than their world required. Their descendants now fill our skies. 10,000 species of birds, living dinosaurs walking among us. The rain never ended, it only changed address. Mundo perdido del Mesozoico aún habla. It speaks through every feather, every hollow bone, every fossil footprint, pressed into ancient stone before there were eyes to see. But the Mesozoic was not the only forgotten era. Stand back for a moment. 186 million years of dominion stretched across the deep past. The vast gap between Stegosaurus and Tyrannosaurus is far longer than the gap between Tyrannosaurus and you today. Time is not what we think it is. The Mesozoic was not a chapter, it was a library, and every extinction it endured carries a warning. Climates shift, atmospheres change, oceans acidify across countless ages. Apex species, however invincible they seem, are never permanent tenants of this planet, no matter how dominant. The dinosaurs ruled longer than any vertebrate before or since. They still fell. The lesson is clear. The lesson is not that we are doomed. The lesson is that the planet keeps no favorites at all. Yet from the rubble, life always begins again. The mammals creeping through the ashes were no larger than shrews. From them came whales, elephants, primates, you. The end of one world is the soil of the next.
Misterios prehistóricos still wait beneath every layer of rock we have not yet broken open and uncovered. There are eras still hidden. Eras of giant mammals, of ice that swallowed continents, of ancestors learning to walk. The journey through deep time is not over. The next chapter waits in stone, ready to be awakened. El próximo capítulo despierta a un cazador aún más reciente, surgido desde las cenizas de un mundo perdido. If this voyage stirred something in you, stay with us. Suscríbete para continuar el viaje a un mundo perdido. Activa la campana para no perder el próximo capítulo de Mundo Prehistórico, una historia que apenas comienza. The next episode leads you out of the Mesozoic into the age of mammoths, saber teeth, and human dawn. El próximo episodio te llevará a una nueva era, un nuevo depredador. No te lo pierdas jamás. The lost world is waiting, and it still has